What's up, YeshGamers? Robert the Bruce here. And today it's all about giving yourself a boost on the battlefield. Now, whether you're just in a slump and you need to break out of it, or if you've always struggled with being nothing more than a meat shield for your teammates, this video is aimed at helping you climb a few spots higher on that leaderboard and get your confidence back. Now, at first you may think this video is all about just using the MP18, and there's more to it than that, but I will say the MP18 is definitely the gun I recommend for anyone struggling to drop those baddies. It's a phenomenal weapon that covers a lot of the areas that players generally struggle with. Now, if you've never really practiced with single-fire weapons, you may find that you have accuracy problems with a lot of the guns in Battlefield 1, because you're rapidly firing each shot instead of just holding down the trigger. Well, the MP18 is full auto, so you've got no worries there. Now, it doesn't have an insanely fast fire rate, so it's easy to control, but it also does a great job of dropping those bad guys quickly. Now, lastly, it's got surprisingly solid range for a full auto weapon, as well as good hipfire accuracy, so it really is just a great all-around weapon. And I found that most often when I'm playing with someone who's telling me that they're struggling to do well each round, they're simply not using the right gun. The MP18 fits a super wide variety of playstyles, so it's a great go-to gun for just about anybody. Now, next up, the Assault class itself is a great option, which works out well since that's the class the MP18 is on. Now, equip the anti-tank rocket launcher as one of your gadgets, and now you not only can throw down damage on enemy vehicles, but you can also bust up bad guys at really long range. It's also a great counter-sniper weapon, as well as just a good way to drop guys that are a little out of range from your primary weapon. Now, for the other gadget, you definitely want the anti-tank grenade. Of course, they do awesome damage on enemy vehicles, but they're also great just as normal grenades. It's like having a Nickelback CD. Sure, it makes a good frisbee, but you can also use it as a coaster. And so in a similar way, the anti-tank grenade has more than one use. Now, there is a disclaimer because the anti-tank grenades aren't as effective against infantry like a normal grenade would be, but you can still pick up a lot of extra kills with them. They're particularly handy if you know there are multiple bad guys in an area. Hiding in a building, trying to capture an objective, whatever. Toss your normal grenade in, and then switch to these and throw both of them as quick as you can. Anyone that's wounded is going to drop from these anti-tank grenades, and if nothing else, both of them detonating back to back will take out any bad guys that weren't able to clear the area. Lastly, if you're feeling like you can't get in a good rhythm, it's time to step back and evaluate what game mode you're playing and how you're playing it. If you're playing Rush or Conquest and just bull rushing each objective, diving on it as fast as you can, well, you're probably going to die a lot. Now, if you're doing this without a solid crew with you, well, then you're definitely going to be getting frustrated, because let's be honest, relying on randoms to have your back at an objective is kind of like hoping the next Call of Duty doesn't have a bunch of silliness aimed at 9-year-olds. You'll probably be disappointed. Now, sometimes it's not a bad idea to minimize the threats you're facing. Team Deathmatch can be a nice way to get back a little confidence. No tanks or objectives to worry about, just focus on killing the bad guys. Now, if you have a crew, drop back a little when y'all are charging an objective in Conquest or Rush. I'm not saying just to sit back and camp, but if you need a confidence boost, don't be the first one into the danger zone, or else you'll keep being the first one to die. Ask some buddies to run medic, and they'll keep you healthy and in the fight. Adjusting how you play and what game modes you play often can just be the trick you need to get you back on top of the leaderboard and feeling good about your Battlefield skills. Now, none of these things are going to take an awful player and make them amazing overnight, but these are very practical steps you can take to boost your score each game. And then when you're feeling pretty solid in your abilities, you can venture off into other classes and weapons, knowing you always have a fallback setup if you start to struggle. Now, if you've got some random thoughts you just can't wait to share with the world, well, head down to the comments. And if you haven't subscribed, please think about the environment and then subscribe, even though those two things are totally unrelated. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.